I would like to acknowledge that this video is being filmed on the traditional lands of the Wurrundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I pay my respects to their elders past and present, and extend that respect to any Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander or First Nations people who may be watching this video today. Hi everyone, my name is Steph, this is the Novelty Corner and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to share some of my favourite spooky season, Halloween type reads that are not necessarily romance or paranormal romance, and so they don't fit into some of the other recommendations that I have coming out this month. Sometimes books just have that feel for the holiday season. So we have everything here from contemporary romance to horror thriller to middle grade and young adult titles. These are just books that give me that spooky season vibe. So the first one is Her Halloween Treat by Tiffany Rice. This is a little Harlequin Blaze book. This is a secondhand copy that I picked up from an online library sale. It is part of the Men at Work series, so there is a Halloween, a Thanksgiving and a Christmas one. And I haven't reread these in a while, but they're really short, really fun and very steamy. This is about Joey, who has been in a relationship with her partner for 2 years, but discovers that the entire time he's been married. And to get away from this, she goes back to her family's hometown and she's planning on staying in one of the cabins that they have there. And she ends up running into her brother's best friend, Chris, who is helping to fix up the cabins. They sort of enter in what she considers to be a rebound fling, but he wants more than that. And he is determined to do anything to keep her. I love this because it is set during Halloween. There is a Halloween themed wedding in this book, which was the best thing ever. If you want a really short, steamy read, this is great. And while we're talking about Tiffany Rice, I do want to mention The Headmaster. I mean, every time I bring this up, I can't talk about it because one, it's a novella, it's super short, and I can't tell you why this is the perfect Halloween read because it is paranormal, but if I tell you what it is, then it gives away the story. Generally speaking, Gwen is a teacher. She's sort of leaving her previous life behind and she ends up coming across a school called the Marshall School, which is a private boys boarding school. And she ends up being hired as a teacher there. She really loves the kids and she's very intrigued by the mysterious headmaster. His name is Edwin York and he knows that their relationship cannot work, but he can't tell her why. And this is just very atmospheric. It's super short. It is the perfect Halloween read if you like romance. Like I said, it is paranormal, but I can't tell you why. Just, you have to read it. It's great. Another one that's great for this season is more of a horror book. This is Into the Drowning Deep. This is scary, creepy mermaids in the Mariana Trench. So in this book, there is a mockumentary group that goes out to the Mariana Trench and then they disappear. And then years later, a second crew is put together to go and investigate what happened. All of the crew members are there for different reasons. They all have different purposes for going out to the Mariana Trench. The main character that we're following, she is heading out there because her sister disappeared and she wants to find out what happened to her. The set. Creepy mermaids in the middle of the ocean. To me, there is nothing more terrifying than being out on the open ocean with bad things happening to you because you literally cannot get off that boat. That is deeply claustrophobic, terrifying thoughts. Then I have a middle grade title. This is Lockwood & Co. Or the series is called Lockwood & Co. This is The Screaming Staircase. It is the first book in the series. This is a young adult paranormal story. It is fantastic. There are 5 books. It's complete. If you pick this one up, you will want to read them back to back. This is an alternate world where ghosts exist and can affect the living. So they can cause mischief, they can wreak havoc in homes, and they can hurt people, but only children and sort of younger teens can see them. As you get older, you lose the ability to see the ghosts, which means you lose the ability to protect yourself. And that is a terrifying thought. To combat this, agencies have been set up to fight the ghosts, and they are run by adults who hire children. And so children are sent into these situations to get rid of ghosts, and it can be really, really dangerous work. Lucy comes to London and she is a young agent and she's thinking she's going to be placed with one of the organizations, but she ends up working for the smallest of them, Lockwood & Co., which is currently dealing with some bad publicity because of a case that's gone wrong, but they are a really tight-knit group who solve the unsolvable, really. And it is fun, it is quirky, and I loved all of these characters. I haven't reread this in a while and I really, really need to. I don't know if I'm going to get to it this year, but it will definitely be high up there for next year. Like, it is a fantastic series. Then I wanted to recommend A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. This is another relatively short horror romance book. This is about Constanta, who is the first bride of Dracula. And so this is sort of her story from when she was taken as a human and then became one of the brides of Dracula to when Dracula took another bride. It is about their relationship, and there are some sapphic elements in here, which was great. Like it's short, it's a quick read, but it was very interesting. Like it's one of the most interesting retellings that I've read, and a very cool take on the Dracula myth. Then I want to mention The Passage, which is kind of like literary sci-fi horror. So this is a 3-book series. The Passage is the first book. It is really long. It's just shy of 1,000 pages, and it is like you get to the end of this book and you feel like you have put in work to read, but it is a really fascinating read. So in this world, it's Earth, and the government has been experimenting with a virus, and that virus gets out of their facility at the start of the book. So we start in sort of the present day, and then the rest of the book takes place 100 years in the future, because basically the Earth is transformed by this virus getting out, and it gets out in the form of 12 former death row inmates who were part of the experiment. It has a very interesting take on vampire lore and what vampires are. It is very gritty. There is action, but it doesn't necessarily move at a super quick pace. To me, I'm surprised that this was something that I got through, but I was so deeply fascinated by this world, particularly in the later books. Like I enjoyed the first book, but I especially enjoyed book 2 and book 3 and the characters and what happened to them. If you don't mind a little bit of literary horror, then this is probably worth checking out. I came to this because my dad had seen it being talked about on the TV, and he's like, have you read it? Because he has no idea about what I read at all. Like, he doesn't. And then I ended up getting signed copies of all of these books, and I was very, very pleasantly surprised that I enjoyed it. I also have The Diviners by Libra. This is a young adult paranormal series, and it is a lot of fun. It is historical, set in the 1920s. We follow Evie, who is one of our main characters, and she is sort of exiled from her family because she embarrasses them, and she's sent to London to live with her uncle, who runs the Museum of American Folklore, Superstition and the Occult. She is hiding a secret that she has a special ability that can help find things or find things out. And she and a group of friends that she makes in the city end up being caught in a series of occult murders. There are 4 books in this series. They are very atmospheric, very entertaining. I loved all of the characters and the complexities of their world, and the fact that this was like an alternate historical 1920s with paranormal elements was just delightfully fun. So they were the books that I actually wrote down in my list to review and had written down notes for. And then when I was pulling the books off the shelf, I pulled a few more books off. So I don't have notes for them. So these will probably be a little bit briefer because I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about them. I literally grabbed them off the shelf this morning. So if you want something a little bit more lighthearted in the YA category, I highly recommend Gap Year and Ghost Town by Michael Pryor. This is set in Melbourne. It features ghost hunting. Anton has deferred his first year of university to go into the family business of ghost hunting. He can see ghosts, and he ends up having to work with Rani, who comes from a very, very long line of ghost hunters, and where Anton tries to understand the ghosts and their past and why they're doing what they're doing to try and send them on their way peacefully, she is very much about slashing them and getting rid of them. And so they have to find an equilibrium working together. But I love this because this is such a great depiction of Melbourne, but with ghosts. It's awesome. There is a second book as well. I also wanted to mention Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Sean and Maguire. This gives me all the Halloween spooky season vibes. It is the second book in the Wayward Children series. The reason I picked this one up over any of the others is because this is set in the moors. It is creepy and gothic and just that quintessential spooky vibe. Overall, it is also sapphic. I loved this book. This is my favorite. This is my favorite in the entire series. I will take no argument on this. It is the best one. For a middle grade title, Coraline by Neil Gaiman is always a go-to because, I mean, how could you not with The Other Mother? I mean, it is just so creepy about a girl who wanders into the other world and has to figure out what's going on. Like, for a middle grade book, this is bloody creepy and I adore it. And then lastly, I have a gothic romance, Lesson in Thorns by Sierra Simone. In fact, the entire series probably belongs in here. I did want to include it because it doesn't quite fit, like it is sort of paranormal-ish, but it doesn't quite fit into any of the other recommendations. So this is a fantastic polyamorous gothic romance that's set in a creepy old manor that has a lot of atmosphere. As kids, they're all there because their parents are connected, and they perform, I think it's a wedding ceremony in the Thorn Chapel, and then years later they come back together. They're all in the same place after being separated for years, and mysterious things happen, and their relationships are complicated by being adults now and by their station in life, and the whole thing is super steamy, but also very intriguing because you want to know what's going on and why they're all connected. So those are my spooky season recommendations that are not strictly paranormal romance. In the comments, I would love for you to leave your recommendations down below. What do you love reading in spooky season? Feel free to leave them down below so that I and everyone else can find them, because that's how I find new books. If you want to let me know that you're here but you don't want to leave a comment, feel free to leave a ghost emoji down below. Otherwise, I hope that wherever you are in the world, just staying safe and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye everyone.